I will talking about today financing of public investment with crowdfunding in Turkey. First of all, my presentation is outlined. Start with introduction, purpose, and then an overview of energy investments in world. Then energy investment in Turkey and public-private partnerships. Then definition of crowdfunding as an alternative financing model. And then public investments and crowdfunding and methods and SWOT analysis and discussion, and then we talking about conclusions. First of all, according to international agency, said that energy investments all over the world increased by 10% compared to 2020 and reached $1.9 trillion. Renewable energy sources, on the other hand, have received an investment of over $600 billion. Countries have started to develop policies in line with the reduction of carbon emissions due to climate change. For example, the European Union has established policies to take measures to reduce carbon emissions by 55% from 2020 to 2030, and to make energy investment in this direction. Energy investments, which constitute a significant part of public investment expenditures, create a significant burden on the budgets of governments. Public investment in Europe are expected to increase from 3.4% of GDP from 2019 to 2021. However, the government debt ratio is expected to increase from 79 to 95% in the same period. This creates a conflict between the greenhouse policies set and the budget to be allocated. This situation shows us that governments should turn to find alternative ways to financing energy investments. This study purpose of internet-based crowdfunding, which has been on the agenda of financial markets with the technology that has developed in recent years, will be a suitable alternative source of financing for public investments in the energy sector. In this study, the appreciations of internet-based crowdfunding, which has been on the agenda of financial markets with the technology that has developed in recent years, was evaluated by SWOT analysis method, and the results of study were debated in terms of public finance targets. This chart shows how much energy investments of $1.9 trillion were made between 2019 and 2021 in which area. In particular, electricity generation and electricity generation and distribution constitute the largest part of investments. The increase in debt ratios in government budgets in the relevant periods shows how important it is to use alternative financing methods in investment for this increasing needs. Energy investments were made in Turkey from 1999 to 2020 with public-private partnership is an alternative financing method. In 30 years, in which an investment of approximately $67 billion was made. Investments were made on electricity and natural fuel resources. Between 2008 and 2020, 172 energy investments were made with this method. Despite the global financial crisis experienced in 2008, and alternative financing methods ensuring the continuity of energy investments show us how important alternative financing methods are in this regard. Last 2 decades increased internet and social media users all over the world. At this time, crowdfunding showed up an alternative finance which based on internet. Not only private sector use it for financing their investments, but also public sector use this method for financing their investments. According to World Bank report, crowdfunding has 2 types: crowdfunding model and 5-type business model. Donation-based crowdfunding model, discrimination by 2 charts, reward-based crowdfunding model and equity-based crowdfunding model. Donation-based crowdfunding model, volunteers who provide funding don't expect any financial or physical return. Internet-based fundraising campaigns are an example. Reward-based crowdfunding model, funders take a gift or thank you note. This cause of encourage donated to projects. For using investment are important part of crowdfunding as investing model. These 3 types: equity-based crowdfunding model, lending-based crowdfunding model, and royalty-based crowdfunding model. Equity-based crowdfunding model, funders has financial advantages in this type business model. They receive profit sharing like financial market cash instruments. Also, this type business model is controlled by capital market boards. Then lending-based crowdfunding model, funders has debt instruments in this type models. They receive rate of interest and returns in specific times. Royalty-based crowdfunding model, in this type business model, funders have a share in fundraising company and they receive profit sharing specific terms. This type model use less than other business models all over the world. The table shows that crowdfunding how was applied by Ukraine government between 2014 and 2020, and especially 2014 after Russia crisis in Ukraine, country had problems financing defense service. In this time, Ukraine decided to start a campaign and they aim to reach out to all segments of society and make their contribution. Governments and households apply the most optimal financial method to achieve all of their goals or the point closest to that goal. For this reason, Ukraine government decided to donation-based crowdfunding financing model. This model has an advantage time, reach all society parts, and limitless contribution amount. Firstly, they determined prior needs in military services and found a website which collect donation amounts. In this way, Ukraine government planned 78 military projects, 20 healthcare projects, and 10 social projects. All projects had target to collect $4.3 million cost. Donation contribute same amount for all projects. Consequently, the collected total amounts may show that too small, but it helped to government's financing military services in war conditions. Despite a new financing model for public goods and public investments, this table shows that public investment financing problems gain a new approach. Then I evaluate these methods with SWOT analysis, crowdfunding as an alternative of public energy investments, how we can use it. This model can be a strength side. It doesn't create an additional debt burden on the government budget. It's the most important thing for this model. Then in Turkey, capital market boards have published a rules, and they decide to share to be obtained from the income to be obtained with the maximum investment limit of 20,000 Turkish liras is spread this base, and this limit of the crowdfunding investment models limit amount 20,000 Turkish liras, and this helps to the aims of public finance, such as Musgrave's description. These types of target of public finance, ensuring efficiency in resource allocation, efficiency in distribution, and ensuring in economic stability. Considering the purpose of public finance, it's thought that the source to be created for crowdfunding will be distributed effectively, both funded and funded by the project spreading to the base and the limited investment amount. Transferring all the resources to more than one project, not a single project, and determining the investment figures in advance will be reveal an effective distribution. Although ensuring economic stability depends on multiple factors, it can be thought that it will make a positive contribution to economic stability. These models have weakness. First and more important weakness is failure to obtain the expected return on investments. Failure to obtain the expected return on investments in the face of shrinking markets and increasing inflation pressure in the event of extraordinary situations such as pandemics. This model's opportunities taking quick action for the financing of projects developed in the field of renewable energy resources, and then by reducing our energy imports, resource can be directed to other needed areas, and the use of renewable energy sources can be increased within the scope of greenhouse projects, and then it can be a positive incentive to reduce carbon emissions in our country. These models have traits west of resource if project risks are not well analyzed, be good. Bureaucratic obstacles is shown in this period. Uncertainties about the development and implementation of the projects by the people or companies that will create the project. To the conclusion, the need for energy and the need for investment in energy are increased day by day for all countries in the world. In the face of this increasing needs, these investments can be met thanks to alternative financing methods, despite limited resource and budget constraints. The fact that crowdfunding reaches a broad investor space due to its structure will ensure that resource and distribution are fair for both parties. In this way, it will make a positive contribution to the objectives of public finance. Thank you for listening, and thank you for everything.